Hey guys, and welcome to another brand new video. In this video, we actually have some pretty important news to go cover when it comes to the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, as you guys probably know, the PlayStation 5 Pro just came out, but right now we're seeing some very apprehensive things coming out with it. Now, the Pssr was like the big integral upgrade when it comes to utilizing AI, utilizing upscaling, kind of basically filling in the blanks and copy pasting certain things. And I will go and say this first and foremost before we get roasted in the comment section down below. Some games actually have had a chance to have that tender love and care and utilize the Pssr and make the games look and feel a lot nicer. I myself on the channel itself have said that certain games do look better, and we have seen things like Ratchet & Clank, PlayStation Studio games, etc. that have had a phenomenal and great improvement with this feature. Same with PS4 games. Now that is still legitimate and still real. That is not taken away. But right now we're seeing some really big news where certain games and third-party studios are actually having a worse performance when it comes to PlayStation 5 Pro. We're seeing a lot of anti-aliasing. We're having the games themselves seem unstable. And so far, certain demographics of these games are not actually performing as much as we expect they would. They're not up to scuff. They're actually having issues. Things are getting blurry. And if you guys have ever seen like random game glitches where like just random leaves will show up out of nowhere and like things are randomly like splitting apart like a sun or whatever it might be, we are seeing that and it's not a good vibe. So I do want to go and say that this is probably one of the bigger details and issues, because if the baseline Pssr is not even good, or the game itself they're trying to go utilize and make is also not good, that's where things kind of go and start hitting the, well, issues in fray. So I'm going to go do a little bit of a deep dive over here. We may go talk about this a little bit more if more games are coming out here with the same demographic issues. So let's go and talk about it. So make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We are giving out a PS5 Pro, though it's weird to go talk about that or affiliate links for the PS5 Pro as we're kind of, well, completely roasting it, but I always want to give everyone both sides, and I still think overall the PS5 Pro has had a pretty good performance and good improvements, and this also might even be more on the developer side too as well. But so I want to remind everyone it's not all roses and beautiful butterflies. So let's go talk about it. Of course, we have the Twitters down below, Twitches and all that stuff, and subscribe here. And I appreciate you guys all so much for watching here in the first place. So very first and foremost, we've kind of been seeing a lot of information on the PS5 Pro, on the Pssr. And people are now saying that it's actually struggling with image quality at sub 900p base resolutions. So how do I kind of go and explain this? Or how would I kind of do a little bit more of a deep dive in these issues too as well? Because as of right this second, the Pssr, let me try to give you like this a fundamental. The Pssr itself is a, like I said, it fills in the blank. It's utilizing an AI. And I almost feel like I need to whip out paint really quick to try to go and explain this, but I think you guys probably get the rough idea. It's kind of like, let's go and say you have an, let's say you have like a random picture. Sorry for the random white. But as you have this, so you have a chance to go be like, hey, we're doing bubbles in the water, or you have things like bricks on a wall. The idea and concept is you basically just have a chance to go and be like, hey, no matter what, there's going to be more bricks, and then more bricks, and then more bricks. So you can kind of go and just have it copy pasted and make the whole overall vibe look and feel a bit nicer, so you can kind of fill in the blanks a little bit better. So like you basically don't really need to worry about leaves of grass or bricks or water or bubbles to go make things kind of look and feel really nice in AI. So you would think and assume that if the general textures are nice, so think say for my wall, I have these red walls over here and we have these two different colors. So you just have to go and copy paste whatever this is, copy paste in this, and it can kind of fill out the blanks pretty well. You would think logically, and most games can do it well. I'm not going to say some games don't. But right now, we're actually kind of seeing this technology over here where the Pssr is actually producing questionable results in still shots and in motion. And for certain games, they're having a lot of issues too as well. And maybe once again, I think this might be more on the Jedi Survivor vibe itself, or even like, you know, Star Wars Outlaws, you know, all these types of various games out there, Ubisoft games, etc. And we'll do a little bit more of a deep dive to discuss and talk about some of this stuff. But a good example over here for Jedi Survivor is that this game is actually very blotchy. It's having issues and basically like little random instances that you really want to expect showing up on the map itself in comparison to the PS5 and PS5 Pro mode. Now, as I mentioned before, that might be another separate video topic because there have been some pretty big critiques on the PS5 Pro. But right now, there's issues with both like a baseline, and this is kind of relevant too, but we'll maybe talk about that in a separate video. But like the idea behind it is that like, let's say your resolution's rough. Like, let's go and say you have a really bad painting. Actually, this is the perfect example. I'm happy I still have paint open. So you know that same exact paint example with me, okay? And this is kind of, I think, probably the best one explaining this. It's going to be a little bit of a yap session, but I hope you guys can follow along. If you have a really bad base asset, kind of like how I have right here, and you go and try to copy paste it, guess what? Whatever you go and get at the end of the day is going to be a very mediocre asset. Like, this is all you go and get, and it's not the best. But let's go and see you put a lot more extra detail on it, and you try to make it look a lot more special and dynamic. Just assume this is like the Mona Lisa's drawing, like the best drawing you've ever seen, AK face. And as you do that, then as you go and copy paste it, the baseline you have as a standard will be that same exact, slightly more detailed and better thing. Maybe a better example would have had like maybe a brick over here too with like colors and actual shading that looks a lot nicer, but I'm an artiste, I'm a YouTuber that yaps. So it's kind of a big detail to go look at. If the baseline is not good, you can't really copy and paste and make it nicer because just the graphics aren't there. And that's kind of what's going on over here with this PSSR, where some of these games, maybe older games, and this might be more of a PSSR issue, in regards like the double whammy, where the PSSR is not able to go and work miracles. So you have these older games that might have shoddy work, shoddy coding, shoddy texture, shoddy assets, and all those put together are basically adding these weird quirks and these weird details into certain games, and it's leading to bigger issues out here. This is a quote over here from Digital Foundry, and you guys can kind of go and see, and I'll try to maybe pinpoint and maybe like reverb a few different examples. It's a little bit harder to see through Twitter quality, yes, but the big idea is that sometimes these things are going to have like random pops that are not, like they're basically, it's like noticeable enough. I'm trying to go and find it, and you guys may have to go and use your eyes and stare at stuff. Basically imagine like a weird, awkward hovering and like a weird, awkward glow where things don't really look nice. I think for this example, and bear with me, I know it's kind of sometimes harder to go and see, but maybe a good example is look at the water, okay? So instead of the water itself, like I want you to look right here. So follow with me, okay? Follow along. If you guys look at the water almost looks like it's fake. It's like glistening, but not a good glisten from like the sunlight coming from over there. It looks like it's just randomly appearing. Like, do you guys see it? It almost looks like shoddy and fake, and looks like it's being rendered on in as we're running out into it. Now, there's a little bit of that going on over here too as well, don't get me wrong, but I think that's probably the best example of what people are seeing. And like, once again, you look on this right side and you stare at the water, and you see how the water has these weird ripple effects, but this doesn't look like real life water. But if you look on this, on the left side of the normal PS5 Pro, there's a little bit of glistening and water effects and reflections, but it doesn't look unrealistic. It doesn't look fake. And by the way, this is like, guys, I know it's kind of hard to go and see in these types of like Twitter videos and such. Another good example is looking at like the leaves, which I believe is what people are trying to fine tune on. At least this is what I'm seeing like is on off. Where if you look at these leaves where my mouse cursor is, it's getting like blurry. So this is like a baseline texture. It's existing, and this is basically the PSSR itself, which might just be more of like a game issue. Like I wish I knew. I think it's a mixture of both. I think the game itself, like these game third-party studios, are not utilizing the PSSR and AI technology well, and at the same time their baseline assets aren't good. But at the same time, PlayStation does kind of just gave you the technology, but they're not fine-tuning it or even having like a quality assurance check, I guess. I'm not really sure how much you can blame on PlayStation, how much you can blame for third parties. It does seem more of a third-party issue, but the fact that this is utilizable and published for people that are literally using these consoles, it kind of goes hand in hand. Like I'm assuming if I'm the company and this kind of puts out on my system, it does reflect poorly on myself and the AI. It's you guys can let me know in the comment section below. You really can go either way. But as you guys can kind of see, there's this weird like haze, this weird like texture details where basically things are being rendered on in, and it makes things a lot harder. If you look on the left side for the PS5 mode, the textures are there and they're kind of somewhat swaying and moving around as we look at it. But as I kind of said, this might be hard to see. It's kind of like these blurry textures of this random AI that are like, it's just not fully rendering on in. Like it's there, but it's not fully there. These are straight up faced up, like we see these lines, we see the individual strands. These are getting like blurry. These are getting weird. And where people are noticing this stuff, like maybe the good example is the water. The PSSR is trying to utilize its AI to go and basically copy and paste and fill in the blank. But if it's like buggy, it's like weird. Here's another good example. You might be able to see a little bit more. You see how like the foliage on the PS5, we'll do the left side first and the right. You see how we have these random little bushes. Like they're consistent, they're there, like they're not fake, they're not being rendered on in or added on in. It's just nice to see this. You look at these overall textures on the bushes on the right side, which is the Pro, and you can see how like the coloring is different, the rendering is different. Almost every bush is basically being perpetually rendered on in, trying to go make it work. Like this is a really good example because you can see all the foliage up on the top, in the middle, etc. I'm going to keep on replaying that because I think that's another really good example. The water one was good as well. Where once again, again, this AI from the PSSR is trying to go and re-render these things, like basically copy and paste it, but it doesn't necessarily know. It's like if you've ever seen AI go kind of crazy, maybe this is gonna be another random quick Google search, but I'm trying to do this on the fly, kind of gives the good vibe. If you guys have seen the Minecraft AI, this is probably the most perfect example out here because it doesn't make sense. It's very, 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 very crazy. And people are even calling this basically a fever dream. And this is where the AI itself is kind of leading into stuff because it's like weird. It doesn't look like real Minecraft. And it's like re-rendering stuff that in theory, quote unquote, works, but it doesn't really at the end of the day. Like, it's like, you see how like it's like changing stuff and it's removing the world. Like, don't worry. But like it's like it's there, it's working per se, but like it changes the world to such a weird way where AI itself is not fully replicating it perfectly. And instead of it just being a hard set texture of like say grass, then it has like this weird AI where the AI is trying to almost like fill in the blanks, but they don't know how to fill in the blanks. And that's like, you can see how it's like the whole world is evolving really strangely. It's not being optimized perfectly and no one really knows what's going on. And like the world is like changing in a very weird state. If you guys haven't seen AI in Minecraft, it's nuts. So that kind of goes into what we were saying before on this picture in these very last few seconds, where the AI is trying to figure out exactly on this right side over here is trying to figure out what's going on. And because of it, it's like mostly still working, but people are noticing these technical bugs and issues where it's just bouncing back and forth. And I think that's a very big problem. They need to go and address this. I'm not sure exactly how, because I'm not sure if it's still a PSSR. This is the PSSR causing this, but it also could just be maybe shoddy development work, say from EA or Ubisoft, these third-party games utilizing the PS5 Pro, or maybe it's just, I don't know. I really don't know. We just noticed this here and it's happening in a lot more different games. So I want to hear your thoughts and comments on all this. I'm not sure how to fix this. This might be a patch, might be something they can fine tune in the future with more information. But either way, this is a very sketchy situation. So I'm going to talk about it. So if you guys enjoyed the video, make sure you guys are subscribed with the notifications on. We have the PS5 Pro giveaways over here on the channel. Subscribe over here. All the social links down below. And give me your thoughts and comments down below as well.